So in the last video, we looked at using pre-made JavaScript functions, for example, alert. So underneath the hood in the background of JavaScript, alert is a function with a list of instructions that are all put together to create that pop-up on the page that we saw. But what about writing our own functions? What if there are instructions that we want to give to the browser that aren't covered in pre-made JavaScript functions? Well, this is where we can write our own custom functions. Whenever we write a function, we start with the function keyword, and then we need to give it a name. So I'm going to call this calculate, because this is the function we're going to use later when we link to the button click. And when we're declaring our function, we need to open and close some normal brackets after the name, and then we open and close some curly brackets and drop them onto another line. So this is in what's called ES5 syntax. This is in a slightly older version of JavaScript. This is the way that you declare a function. You build a function. Now, inside those curly brackets, a bit like with our CSS, this is where all of the interaction happens. So in CSS, we package up our styles inside these curly brackets. In JavaScript, we're packaging up the instructions we want to be called and triggered at a later date. So with calculate, I'm going to take that alert and I'm going to put it onto line 4 in the middle of my function. So this function, when it is called, when it is triggered, should have that same pop-up with the hello world in it. Now, if I run my code at this point, nothing happens. And the reason that nothing happens is I've declared that function, I've packaged up a list of instructions to happen at some point, but I haven't asked the browser to trigger it at any point. So just like with our alert, the way that we call a function is to write the name, and then we open and close some brackets. So now when I run my code, the browser will read down, it finds this function declaration, it says, okay, there's a list of instructions I can hold on to till later, and then when it gets to line 7, it says, run that list of instructions. So if I run my code now, we get hello world. Excellent. So the next logical step is to link that to the click of a button. Now, this is the first part where we're going to be using jQuery that I mentioned earlier. So jQuery is a JavaScript library. It is a pre-made, it has pre-made instructions and functions, just like alert that we saw earlier, that wrap up short chunks of code that are very common for developers to want to do. So for example, linking a function to the click of an element on the page, like a button, is something we can do very quickly and easily in jQuery. Showing and hiding elements on the page, animations like a fade in or fade out. These are things that may take 3 or 4 lines of code to write in vanilla JavaScript without jQuery. But jQuery as a library says, here is a one-line function that you can run to do those things that are very quick to do. So it's really useful for sessions like this. So this next part, the syntax is jQuery. So in jQuery, the first thing we need to do is get hold of this button and link the click to that function. So the way that we get hold of an element from our page in jQuery is with this $ brackets single quotes, and inside that single quote, we use what's known as a CSS selector. So any selector that we can use in CSS, for example, P or button, or the same selector, a hash for when we're targeting IDs, we can use in this jQuery selector down here. So I want to target the button, and I want to link a click of that button to a function. So we can use this .click. This is available in jQuery when we have grabbed an element from the page. And inside this .click, I have to put what function do I want to link that click to. Well, for us, that's going to be the calculate function. Now I'm going to remove line 5 because I don't want that to run as soon as I run my code. And when I click run in the top left, clicking the button should now trigger our function calculate with that alert. So let's see if that's worked. Excellent. So I click my button, it runs the function calculate, and we get our pop-up.